Okay, everybody, hello. Um, Not to be expected, but we are going to do a special off-season Britball with the Breens today, because the fixtures have been released, or what we think will be the fixtures have been released, um, for us to have a look at. And there's a few things that have kind of come up, that we think are a bit strange. So we'll go through some of that. Then we'll also maybe talk a bit about our trip down to Houston Texans Media Day. We're down there for a couple of days in London, then went to the game afterwards. So we'll maybe go through some of the stuff we've seen or got involved in while we were down there. I guess to start with, we need to say that bravo to Bafa for getting these out so fast after so many years of getting them out in February. But we have some reservations, as by the looks of social media, so does a number of teams, that don't quite add up, if you get what I mean. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take you through some stuff here. So for starters, the divisions have been realigned. We had a look through them. And the Premiership is really kind of fine.
Yeah, I mean, the Premiership is exactly what the Premiership has been. One team went down, one team came up in the north, same in the south. Leicester been relegated from the north and replaced by Sandwell. And in the south, Farnham have went down and been replaced by Solent. Straightforward, as you like.
Yeah, and so that's obviously that's the best tier of football, so we expect that one to be the easiest to do. However, there seem to be decisions in the Division 1 and the Division 2 which seem to make no sense whatsoever. So that would start with Division 1. Why?
The north.
Yeah, why do we have one division with 5 teams and one division with 7 teams?
Yeah, I mean, stereotypically, the Division 1 setup has always been 4 sets of 5. You've got the SFC and the NFC, and each the NFC has the North and the South, and it's divided into 5 teams each. 6 teams each, sorry, so to give 10 games, and 6 teams in the 2 Southern Conferences. And briefly, there was actually a release that showed 6 teams in the NFC 1 North and 6 teams in the NFC 1 South. However, what they did with that is they replaced the Yorkshire Rams in the north with the Lancashire Wolverines due to geography. I think it's maybe a few miles closer at best. And then that all changed. We're not entirely sure why. We don't know if there was a complaint put in or something, but now Lancashire have been moved out of the NFC 1 North and put into the NFC 1 South.
Which causes all sorts of problems for everybody else.
It really kind of grinds on my gears, to be honest, because now we're in the situation where we have one division that has 5 teams to play 10 games, which means you play 2 teams 3 times. And in the other one, you've got 7 teams instead of 6. So now you only play certain teams once. And it just becomes a bit of a mess for me. And I would much rather see help given to a team so that they can travel, so that we have even divisions, rather than the way it's kind of worked out now, because it is a mess, and it's going to end up costing a team somewhere along the lines.
Yeah.
Whether that's when it comes to relegation or whether it comes to playoffs, that factor of playing against a team multiple times or not multiple times in some cases may come back to cause a team to suffer relegation or missing out in the playoffs, and that's not okay.
Yeah, I think the thing is we're obviously in the experience of we've had to travel a lot. We've always had to travel a lot. No matter if the teams were in Scotland or England, we always have to travel 3 hours minimum, basically, other than when Dundee were in the league. And the thing is from my point of view, is if your club isn't set up financially to deal with one long away trip, you've got issues anyway. Like, you should have enough money and a good budget to absorb that one cost. And the thing is there's I was at a fundraiser the other night, and in 5 hours we made £2,600, which some teams are saying is enough for their 2 trips, their 2 longest trips. So all it takes is a little bit of effort, and whether that was their gripe or not, we don't know. Like, we obviously don't know what the gripe was or if they did gripe, but one team moving has ruined Division 1. Like, it not in the fact that you won't see any good games, because you will, but in the fact of why would you make the divisions uneven? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It makes it more difficult on everybody. BAFA, the players, the teams, the coach. It just doesn't make any sense. And to make things worse, the way they seem to have structured the leagues and that is now totally bonkers.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, I'd always understood it that when they did uneven leagues, things came down to seeding, and the newly promoted team would be ranked the lowest, the team that won the division would be the highest, or a relegated team would potentially be the highest. Doesn't seem to have been the case.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't seem to have been worked out by geography either, so I'm not sure how the
random number generator.
It almost seems like
like
a bit of a bingo collar is used, and you know, unfortunately, one team or potentially two teams, depending on how you want to look at it, not wanting to travel, has now meant that a team like the Northumberland Vikings are now playing on the road at Aberdeen twice. So they have to stump up the money double for that trip, whereas they would only normally have to do it once, and now they have to do it twice. And I don't see how that's fair on them. Are they getting financial help for it? Should they get financial help for it? Because It's not their fault that they have to do these things. On the flip side of that, geographically, Chester Romans and Halton Spartans are right next to each other, and they're only going to play each other once.
Yeah, which is... I just don't get it. And the thing is, in the past, they've always played out good games.
Yeah.
So not only could they get good games, but they're now only going to play each other once when they're a short journey away. I just don't really see the logic. I'd love BAFA to come out and say, here is our logic. They're not going to do that, unfortunately. But I'd love to understand why they're doing it. Like, as I say, we would, from our point of view, put the teams in the division for what's best for the league, and if teams need a help, give them a help. Like, that's surely better than ruining the entire division by shoving one team in an extra in a division. It just doesn't seem to make much sense. And it's not the only... Division 1 isn't the only place they've done this.
Yeah.
They've now done this in Division 2.
Well, I mean, the ultimate thing with Division 1 is that 11 teams are now suffering because of one.
Yeah, and you should always go with the majority.
Yeah,
if it suits the majority, leave it alone. If it's to suit one, tough. Like, sort a deal out with them or something. But you're right, it's now ruined the setup for 11 teams.
Yeah.
And how they're going to figure out playoffs and all that, etc., who knows? Rather than it just being top two teams in each division, there you go, boom, done. Now it's going to be, oh, well, this team has this amount,
tiebreakers are going to become an even bigger thing in this situation.
And then some teams aren't playing some teams twice, and some teams aren't playing some... So it's going to be an absolute nightmare.
And you started to touch on it before I kind of interrupted you there. I understand it's more difficult in Division 2. In Division 2, there's a lot more teams. There's teams coming in. Teams don't come in and join Division 1. Teams don't come in and join the Premier Division. They come in and they join Division 2. And I get that makes it more difficult. Over the last few years, we've had 3 conferences in the south, 3 conferences in the north, and generally the teams have kind of mixed up how many are in each division. I see what they've done, and I actually took a guess at this a while back as to what I thought the outlook would be, and from what they released originally, which is what I have on this sheet of paper, it actually looked like the only thing that stopped it from being perfect was Scunthorpe not making the regulations to get into the league, which meant that the NFC 2 West was going to have 4 teams instead of 5.
Yeah.
Every other division looked perfect by making it 4 in the south and 3 in the north, and it looked great. However, since then, I've been made aware that the Sauce have actually moved from the SFC2 West to the SFC2 Central. Sorry if you're not familiar, that's Worcestershire, the Sauce. To the SFC2 East, and then... the SFC2 Central, beg your pardon, and Colchester have moved into the
East.
SF2 East from SFC2 Central. So one team's gone from the Central and one team's moved in, so that stays at 5. However, Colchester have moved into the East where nobody's leaving, so now the West has 4 teams and the East has 6 teams, which creates the same problem that we're having with Division 1. So now instead of that potentially very nearly perfect setup, minus Scunthorpe not making the requirements, and by the way they've done it, you have to assume that they expected them to. Because they would have slotted into the NFC2 West perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
But now because of that, we have 2 more uneven divisions, and it's once again become a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, you know this, they did the right thing moving to Birmingham because it evened up all the divisions.
Yeah.
It was the perfect thing to do, and then they went and ruined it. I don't understand. This is where it causes frustration, and you can see why teams get frustrated is you've done it right, and then you've decided, actually, you know what, we're going to make it wrong again. And it just doesn't seem like there's any logical explanation as to why this has been done.
I mean, I'm sure people at the top of teams get told perhaps a reason why, but
I'm not sure they do. We've been involved in plenty of committees to find out that you don't tend to find out nothing.
And I think it's frustrating for us, and we're not involved with a team. You know, we aren't in a team this year. But it's still frustrating to us as people that follow Britball, people that watch Britball, and people that want to see it grow, to see such an easily fixable thing not done.
Yeah.
And the reason is unclear, and that, you know, yes, you can argue geography and whatnot, but again, the issue stands for us that as people that have had to travel for a long time, you know, in our time playing, the same rule should apply to everyone. So if one team is able to travel, then all teams should have to be up to that capability. The new associate process is great.
Yeah.
It forces teams to do what is needed to show that they can survive in the league, and that is a good step, a good strong step that was needed. However, the next thing is we can't just give in to one team not wanting to move or travel if it sacrifices everyone else's season as a result. And it's all right to say, well, at least this way everyone gets to play, but again, okay, in Division 2 it can't have a knock on in the relegation battle because there isn't one, but when it comes to the playoffs, now there's going to be a team with a division with 6 teams that has 3 spots for the playoffs, but not actually in the south it'll only be the 2. So 6 teams going into 2, and another division's going to have 4 teams with 2.
Yeah.
So that division that's now only got 4 teams, it could be decided after the second week.
Yeah.
Because there's only half of that division is going to the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's what makes it confusing more than anything. And again, I mean, it's not like it's made one of the shifts in Division 1's made the schedule any easier.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not like they've made they're in an easier division now, or there's more of a chance in that division. Like these in Division 1, they're tough.
Yeah.
Like all the divisions are tough, and you're right. The associate process is now very thorough, and that's good because piddly little teams that are just there because their mates fancy it and don't actually want to play don't attempt it. And I think for me the biggest thing is that there's teams out there that should be able to travel no problem. Like they should have, they've been around for years, they've got good balance, and they just don't seem to want to. And you know this, see when they did the fixtures in February and March, and teams went, oh, well, we've got travel, my players can't get time off or anything.
Yeah.
That's now bull. Like that's a terrible excuse now. You're getting the best part of 6 or 7 months at notice now to make sure you're off work or make sure you're off whatever duty is you've got to do. And I'm sorry, but if you can't get off that in 6 months, that's your issue. And if half your team's going to be missing because of that, then why have a team? I mean, like it's 6 months is more than enough notice for your whole team to sort out the one day they have to travel the distance. I
mean, I appreciate that there's going to be circumstances that we're not aware of. There's going to be circumstances that no one's aware of. But the point still stands is that, you know, BAFA doing such a good job to get this to us now, we were here when literally the schedule was coming out 2 weeks before the season starts.
Yeah.
This is out in middle of November. So not only have you got that 6 months to get your time off or whatever you need, now you've got 6 or 7 months to raise any extra money you need to help make these trips. There is so much help by getting this done, and we go back to, I appreciate we're very critical of how this has ended up, but we cannot speak highly enough of the fact that this is done in the middle of November.
Yeah, and they've done that.
Great job to get it done.
And as I said, they've done that now so early to make it easier for everyone. And rather than just go, yeah, you know what, let's all dig in here. A few folk have obviously complained. There's no way they've just changed it randomly. Yeah. So a few folk have obviously complained. They've went, you know what, we'll change it. No, stop changing it. Look, the last time you did that was for Carlisle, and look what happened to them.
Yeah,
they folded,
and that was
because
kind of thing.
They were never worthy of the team anyway, to be in the league anyway, because they never had the numbers. I played them maybe 7. I think I played them 6 or 7 times in my career. I don't think I ever seen more than 25 players on their team. So we're adjusting for that kind of thing to happen, and it's going to keep happening. So we're not going to keep ranting about it, because to be quite honest with you all know our frustration with it, but it'd be interesting to know exactly how they came to the decision of doing that, and then how they came to the decision of what teams played each other, because that seems totally random as well. Outside of this, outside of that, there's a few just games we'd like to highlight just quickly. There's only a couple. In the Premiership in particular, it's very interesting that they've put the London Blitz up against the London Warriors week 1.
Yeah, I mean, given last year's result, we could know who's going to win that division after 1 week.
Yeah,
and that's no disrespect to the other teams in that division, but the Warriors just looked so superior at the end of last year, and you always the first thing you look at is that Blitz Warriors game. And it's week 1. Well, it's week 2, but it's their first game.
Well, they used to leave the suspense until like midway.
Yeah.
Leave it to midway, so everyone's going, who's the better team here? They're both blowing out everybody. But they seem to be like, well, doesn't matter anymore. Week 1, there you go. So that's an interesting one. It's not a bad thing. Like, they've got to play each other anyway. It's just an observation that I don't think they've played each other in week 1 for years.
Yeah.
Years and years.
I mean, it is technically week 2, but it's their first game.
It's their first game.
In the Premiership North, it's probably worth highlighting the newly promoted Sandwell Steelers maybe feel like they got a bit of a raw deal in the fact that they open with 5 games on the bounce. The positive to that, or might be a negative on what way you look at it, is that their first 4 games are at home.
Yeah.
They open against Edinburgh Wolves. Obviously, these fixtures could change. But then 4 home games in your first 4 games, and all of a sudden you've got 1 home game the rest of the year. It's a bit grim, isn't it?
It depends. If they come out 4-0,
yeah, well, that's true.
Then it's not grim, but yeah, I get what you mean. It's a bit tough. I think someone else has got that. Inverclyde.
Yeah,
5 games in a row.
And Leicester have 8. No, not 8. Yeah, 8 games. Is it not 8 games on the row?
Leicester have 8 games on the row.
Is it not something really gruesome Leicester have?
Oh.
Yeah, they have 8 games
so
on the row.
To be honest with you, I don't think that's going to faze Leicester, if I'm honest. Inverclyde and Sandwell are coming up from divisions.
Yeah.
Leicester are actually coming down from a division that they were competitive in a lot of games in.
Yeah.
And depending on how many of their American athletes can play, I would think that they're going to be early favourites for that division. But yeah, it's interesting to see some of them.
The fixtures in the North, there's the NFC 1 North, and this is kind of our first example of one of these reshuffled leagues. And straight away, the first thing that jumps out to me here is that I thought it would be done by seeding. So, number 1 last year would play number 2 3 times, etc., etc. Is Inverclyde seem to have really drawn the short straw here. They play the team that finished first in the division 3 times, and they play the team that finished second in the division 3 times.
Yeah.
So already
2 semi-finalists.
They are in, a disadvantage to other teams.
Yeah.
In a relegation battle, and that's not to assume that that's where they'll be. We don't know how they're going to be that yet, but
they might go there and smash everyone.
They might do, but the point being is that even if you look at playoffs, if their aim is the playoffs and whatnot, then they're still at a disadvantage because they have to play the top 2 seeds from last year.
Yeah, even though
3 times each,
even though they were the newly promoted. Yeah. So it's a bit confusing. I mean, it goes all the way through the leagues. I guess the only other thing we would really say about the leagues is there's one league in this standings that stands out as I genuinely don't think there's going to be a game that's boring. That SFC1 East League is going to be an absolute cracker to watch all season, I think. Just looking at the teams there, Cambridgeshire Cats, London Hornets, Bury Saints, Wembley Stallions, Hertfordshire Cheetahs and the newly promoted Essex Spartans. I mean, Wembley came on strong at the end of last season, Hertfordshire started strong, ended a bit weaker. The other three teams that were already there all battered each other to death. So that is a division to watch out for, I think.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Other than that, I think, again, the brilliant job for getting out this early. Everyone should be able to put their season in line right now and build on it from January onwards. So it's a great thing. The other thing we were here is obviously if you didn't see, we were down in London for the Houston Texans Media Day. I had control of the Twitter, which is why it was a shambles. Twitter isn't my best pal, so we had a visit down to the Media Day, and I think from our point of view, it was a really good experience. It was really cool to be that close to players. We spent quite a lot of time with the Claymores players when our dad was involved, but being next to these guys was just that little bit different, I think. But one of the things that I found was that the people that were there for the Media Day, other than obviously Sky Sports and Fox Sports and this, is that some of them were really ill prepared. Like, some of them didn't know who some of the players were. Like, they're looking at the sheet to go, oh, who's this number? Like, I had weeks in advance a roster with comments next to almost every player, and knew exactly who we were going after to speak to. But it seems like there are some people that are just rocked up.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was a great experience. It was a great opportunity for us to be part of the media circus, I guess, if you call it that. It was a good chance to see how press conference would work with the NFL players and the coaches. I think from a personal point of view, I definitely was concerned about the reaction to questions. Would you get sort of that? What kind of questions that you've just asked?
Well, you will if you asked to Sean Watson about his eye 12 times in a row.
I must admit, my mind was put at ease actually when I watched Carson Wentz press conference the night before, and someone asked him what his favourite Halloween costume growing up as a kid was, and my mind was put at ease because mine were all football related, so I felt a bit better about that.
I guess the biggest thing is we'd done a fair bit of research. We watch a lot of football anyway, but we did a lot of research on the Texans to make sure we had some decent questions. And I think watching the video back, when we asked a question, there wasn't just a one word, yeah, no, maybe. Like, for instance, I asked Bill O'Brien, how do you feel the leadership gap between left by JJ Watt and obviously his on-the-field play as well? And then he said, anytime you use a player like that, it's unfortunate. At the same time, life moves on. You have to figure out quickly how you're going to change the lineup relative to him not being in there. You're not going to replace him, as he's a great football player, really one of the best to ever do it. So you're not going to replace him. You can do things differently with your scheme, with your players, and players who have different skill sets. I think our players who are in there are excited about the challenge, and they know that it's a big challenge. They're not looking to fill his shoes. Nobody's going to fill his JJ Watt shoes, and guys are excited for the opportunity. Now that's like a good paragraph of answer we got from Bill O'Brien, and obviously on JJ Watt. Nobody else asked about him.
No, and we were quite surprised, I think, because I also asked a question with regards to JJ Watt, and I guess you could say some of the shine was taken off it with JJ not being there. But the Texans kind of just came into town, got on with it, and I think it was an eye-opener as to how these guys deal with themselves in press conferences. Now, we knew that Deshaun Watson was going to be at the press conference. We knew that Bill O'Brien was, but we found out on the day that DeAndre Hopkins was also on the stand. I must admit, as a Clemson fan, it was a little difficult to try and maintain a bit of composure and not be a fan for the day. But I think I managed all right. And I actually asked him about Deshaun Watson. I asked him how his ability to extend a play affects him as a receiver. And he said to me, you know, it affects him a lot, knowing that a quarterback can keep a play alive longer than usual. You know, you have to be in shape and you have to know where to run when he's scrambling. There's usually like 3 or 4 guys running a route, sometimes 2, so it's about finding the open spot and finding an open hole and getting in his vision, because when he's scrambling and running, he's still able to make the throw.
And again, that's an answer, a really solid answer to a question that's been looked at. I mean, one of the guys we definitely targeted down there was Darren Fells.
Yeah.
Now we did research into him. We knew that he was late into the league, that he was a bit older, and that he was having a career year. So we did some research on him, and he did a little interview with us, and he is absolutely huge, by the way. Like, I think I was up to his chest. And so I did an interview with him, and he was really nice, and he was really chilled out. He was cool to speak to.
I think he came across as the kind of guy that's not used to getting people.
Yeah, I think we chased him down, and I think he was kind of surprised that a crowd ensued to speak to him. But I actually asked Deshaun Watson how much having Darren Fells having a career year helped the Houston Texans in the red zone this season, and his answer again, he's been great. I mean, he's a basketball guy. He can go up and make the big play. He plays big. He's still learning the game of football from basketball, so he's helped us out as far as being a veteran guy, a professional coming to work each and every day, especially for the locker room, but especially for that unit and that tight end group. And I mean, as I say, he definitely had made a difference. Like, he scored again that very weekend.
Yeah.
But as I say, stand next to him, he seemed like he was the most chilled guy ever.
Yeah. And I think we both got a bit of a laugh out of DeAndre Hopkins as well when, you know, he came into the press conference. He's very business, very serious. Everything was about the job. You know, someone asked him if he gets to have any fun while he's down here, and he said the fun was winning. And I can relate to that. You know, I don't have fun unless I'm winning. You know, and on game day when they won, you know, he had a great sort of celebration down in the end zone. Just the sort of the last thing, like, you know, we asked obviously relative to the Texans, but with Deshaun Watson being there, I couldn't pass up on the opportunity to ask him about the game the previous week when Hunter Renfrow scored from the Oakland Raiders, given that, you know, those two obviously had a great relationship at college, and, you know, in the 2016 National Championship, Deshaun Watson threw the touchdown pass to Hunter Renfrow, and I actually asked him how it felt watching Hunter Renfrow score his first career NFL touchdown, and both him and his media handler had a bit of a laugh about it. And he actually said it was tough, you know, actually. Definitely wanted him to have some success. He's like a brother to me. But I didn't want that to happen. But it was cool to see what he did, what he's doing for that team and what he's producing. Because a lot of people, you know, he had a lot of success in college, but a lot of people said they didn't think he would have any in the NFL. He's a guy that just continues to work, doesn't listen to the criticism or read anything. He just works hard every day and loves to have fun, loves his family, loves his wife, and just does what he does. Which shows even into the NFL, these guys still have a lot of respect and a lot of love for the guys they played with at college.
Yeah, and the thing is and Hunter Renfrow since that week has become a much, much bigger part of the Raiders organisation on the field. Like, he's catching passes all the time now rather than once in a blue moon he gets on for a snap. So that may have been the start of him really shining in that Raiders offense. But again, it was a very interesting day. We really enjoyed it. Big thanks to Gridiron Hub for putting us down there. It gives a bit of a perspective on their kind of daily routine and how they were marshalled here, there, and everywhere, and things like that. But it's something we hope to do again, potentially in the near future. As I say, this is just a one-off. So Britball with the Breens will be back in April. Just before April to cover the first set of games. But for now, I hope you just have a look at this, and we'll see if we can get something back from BAFA. I very much doubt it, but we can always see if we can get anything back from BAFA as to the reasons as to why they've done some of this stuff.
Yeah.
If not, we'll see you in April.
See you in April.